If you aren't familiar with the market sauce, this workshop is really, I think, foundational in setting the stage for the next 3 days. And many of you are part of the community and the power of the market sauce. But if you don't, one of the things that many of you already know, and Darby and I were really talking yesterday about just the power of having this be the first workshop, is that when we use AI, right, we already know that the more information, the more details that we can give it, the better our results are going to be. And that's always been something, that concept of garbage in, garbage out, that we've been talking about. But I think as AI has evolved, this is even more true today. And whether you are learning how to create a slide deck with Gamma, or learning how to create content, or micro courses, whatever you're learning in these sessions, having a true brief of your business, in-depth knowledge of your ideal client, concepts around pain points and things that your customers might be experiencing. All of that information is going to be key when it comes to giving AI background about your ideal client, about your products and services, about your business. And so many companies and entrepreneurs spend a lot of money working with marketing agencies to develop like a business brief, right? A brief for their businesses. And so what Darby's going to be sharing with you in this workshop is his market sauce, which really is going to be using his amazing prompts and his workflows with AI and helping us develop a full marketing brief. And I'd love to see, with a show of hands, how many of you have one already? Tyrese, Chris, Assad, Bruce, I'm sure you have one. Warren, I think I saw your hand up. And this is really a foundational, to me, it's a foundational tool of content that's going to allow you to pick and choose what kind of detailed information you give AI as you're going out and you're implementing and using all of the other tools that are going to be featured here over the next 3 days. Again, when Darby and I were talking about this being the first session, I was like, this really is the right place for it. Because if you don't have some foundational information about your business and who you serve, then you'll never truly see as good of results with AI as you could if you have more of that information. And that's what this workshop is going to be all about, right? It's going to be all about how do we really dive into our own businesses and build out a business brief that's going to allow us to really be the foundation of content that we give to AI with all of the tools. With that, Darby, I know we have a handful of people that have already experienced the magic of the market sauce, but it seems like more people haven't seen it yet. So I'm excited for you to show them like the power behind the market sauce. And I know as you go through and demonstrate, we'll be able to talk about how you can leverage this, where you can use it in your business, and what you can do with all of the information that is going to be part of the results that you get by running this.
Absolutely. I'm excited to share, especially when we certainly have folks here that have done it and been a part of the community and have gone through this through multiple workshops before. So hopefully I would love to hear insights that you guys can share throughout this process. And if anyone does have questions, feel free to share them in the comments as we're going through this. There's a lot of educational resources that we've built over the course of the past year and a half on this topic specifically. And what you're going to see demonstrated is going to be, in part, one specific section of what a full buyer's brief is. It's a book that we made, outlines the instruction manual effectively for how to create and produce these types of briefs with AI. And it has all the prompts and such included with it. And just so you guys have these resources now, I'll be posting them here inside of the community. But just in case you guys want to make a copy of the manuscript while you're here with us live, I'm going to be sharing a few resources inside of the chat. For one, for the book manuscript, which is going to be like a complimentary guide as to walking you through what any of the sections that we walk through and develop are all about. And what I'm going to show once, as we get into the workshop, how you can leverage now our MarketSauce portal that we've been developing extensively over the past 6 months to streamline the actual production of the foundational element of any sort of marketing campaign, which is a blueprint, which is basically going to give you guys a 10-page document that's going to create all the details that you need to know about what's going on inside of the mind of your ideal target market and the language that you can use to speak directly to that specific audience in a way that's going to resonate, that's going to land on their ears and speak to the problems, the pains, the fears, the goals, the desires, the dreams, and the different things that are holding them back from where they're at now to where they ultimately want to be. So I have some slides here, of course, that I made in Gamma to walk through setting the stage for what we're going to get into here. But once I go through the slides, we're going to do two things. One is we're going to go into the MarketSauce platform, and I'm going to show you exactly how to submit your context information that any business owner, any entrepreneur, any content creator using any type of AI in general needs to have context that is going to like give the AI a solid understanding of what you're looking to create or produce here. And then from that, we're going to generate using our automations that we've developed. One of these briefs to save you anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes or more of your own time and doing the prompts manually yourself. Then I'll show you how we can take that information alongside a free GPT that we developed called the Mentalist and turn it into something that you can interact with to then expand upon certain sections, to use it to create different emails, different bits of marketing copy in the language that your target audience is speaking. And we use this approach because fundamentally, if you don't know who your target audience is, what's the point in creating a bunch of other marketing content if you don't know who you're speaking to in the first place? And so that's why we start with the blueprint as part one of the MarketSauce method. So excited to welcome you guys here into the MarketSauce method workshop. This is going to be an interactive workshop to helping you with transforming your approach with AI-driven marketing and helping you get inside the mind of your market. Now, the big problem that we've touched on that I want to continue to emphasize why this problem is so important is a lot of AI content just falls flat because it sounds super generic. I think most of us can agree we've seen content that we're like sounds obviously like AI, or it doesn't speak to us like at all with the type of content that's being produced. And a lot of times that content simply, there's a few reasons why, I think. One is it just lacks general strategic foundation. So a lot of people just jump right into prompts, especially if you're just getting started with AI, you just give it some prompts to ChatGPT, and why does this content sound so generic and so not like me, and not having a solid strategic foundation for your content in the first place. Number two is not having the proper understanding of AI capabilities, and so maybe unrealistic expectations or misunderstanding or misuse of how AI tools are going to result in maybe good outputs. Maybe you've heard certain people say that a tool can do this, can do that, but you're maybe not getting the right sort of outputs. And a lot of times it's because we're not feeding the right sort of context to that AI to give it the information it needs to get the best output. And a third that I think in general is really the what we see a lot with people going ahead with full marketing initiatives is in an insufficient market understanding of who your target audience is in the first place and lacking deep insights that you need to have before you go about creating or producing any sort of campaign to know that you're on the right track and that you're speaking the right message to your target market. The reality is with these marketing briefs, and you may have heard them called by other names. The name that I have attributed to this process through our book is buyer's brief. You may have heard them called creatives briefs. You may have heard them called brand briefs before. One way or the other, big companies that are doing this stuff with themselves or with their clients or are hiring consultants and paying big money for consultants to do and create these briefs for them is they know that the power of preparation and having clarity before you get into building out any campaigns. And so the purpose of these briefs and the process we're going to share with you is to helping you gain that clarity and that confidence that you are speaking to the right person, and that this level of precision and understanding about who you're going to be talking to is going to guide the AI tools to more effectively reach the audience that you're looking at. And then it's not just the AI tools, it's also the people that use them. And one of the reasons that companies invest into having these briefs developed for them is because it not only aligns their leadership team or their marketing agency or their employees individually on who their target market is and what their initiative is, these act as a source of truth for all parties involved with a marketing campaign to be on the same page from square one. And the cost of a poor foundation can lead to a number of revisions, missed opportunities, time and resources being wasted. Preparation truly is everything, especially when you're talking about marketing budgets at like the higher scale of things, upwards of millions to hundreds of millions of dollars for some of these campaigns. They're not going at these campaigns without having a super clear, defined marketing brief that they're referencing back to when they're going to go and execute that campaign. And as I mentioned, the strategic alignment here is absolutely crucial for why these companies invest in this. Because AI generated or not, how as you're going about the rest of your content, if your company and your departments are not aligned on the direction that you're heading, it's going to make everything more discombobulated. People are going to be on different pages, and it's going to make every single process that you're looking to execute that much more inefficient, and ultimately leading back to wasting time, opportunities, and other valuable resources inside of your community, inside of your company that could be alleviated by having a very strong foundational element of your strategic brief. And I learned this process in its entirety from Ron Lynch, who I think now they call him the $6 billion man. He was the guy behind GoPro Success, George Foreman Grills, Billy Mays. He was the guy that basically wrote and helped direct all of those giant commercials. This whole process is where he starts everything out with his clients. I learned it through his marketing mercenary program. And just recently, we were talking about how we've been using AI to help develop it. And he doesn't really teach this type of stuff at this level of detail to people that don't invest in going through his program. And it's an intense program, to say the least. But what we've come out of that program with is a deeper understanding of all the pieces and the components that go into creating these briefs, which is what I'm going to be sharing with you inside of like the first part of this process. But it's all outlined as well inside of the buyer's brief book. The AI content pyramid here, if you will, as your blueprint, so to speak, for success. We want to start with a base, we'll have a middle, and then the top of it is going to be our tools. Baseline is really just having a clear understanding of your business and understanding of your core objectives, your target market, your unique value proposition, and all the forms and that you want to build your content off. And inside of the middle, you want to have an even deeper understanding of your customer personas and your market insights and things that the AI needs to know in more detail about your audience. And then if you have base level setup and a super clear avatar and market understanding, you can apply this context to any number of AI tools, and it's going to make any one of those tools that much more effective for your content creation process. But I think I just ask yourself this question. Do you have a clear idea about what your core business objectives are? What's the product or service that you're selling? What makes you different on the market? And who are you serving? Even if it's at a more like high level standpoint, we need to start with that first. And that's what we're going to start with when it comes down to creating your first blueprint inside of the MarketSauce portal. But once we have that understanding and that blueprint laid out, we can go so much deeper in so many different ways to help us with really developing deep, clear understanding of our market that, again, we can take that and we can apply it to any number of AI tools and get much more refined, clear outputs. So the first demo that we're going to be walking through here is going to be what we've been talking about with the intro to MarketSauce method, but we're going to go through the creation process and what we're calling it here and what you may hear it called as well in other places, keeping a human in the loop, which is so important throughout this process. Not just press one button and everything's going to get done for you with AI. There's going to be humans that are checking the quality of the outputs, and that's what we'll be walking through inside of this process to make sure that when AI does AI and it goes off the rails, which it surely will from time to time, and just as technology breaks and does weird things, AI does some weird AI stuff sometimes. And it's up to the human and that's managing or controlling the process to understand, like, one, what's the ideal output look like here? and also learning how to spot the corrections and the mistakes so that you can adjust and be more effective inside of your strategy. That blueprint, we're going to move into the next step of this workshop, which is going to be the mentalist demonstration. I mentioned the MarketSauce Mentalist GPT, which is inside of, it's going to be accessible inside of ChatGPT. We're going to show you a brief demo of how we are integrating with OpenAI to essentially have ChatGPT inside of the MarketSauce portal. It's not quite ready for everyone to use yet, but we do have a working demo that will share how this process will continue to grow inside of our platform. But also, if you have a ChatGPT account, you'll be able to utilize this mentalist as well. We'll show you how to interact and have a conversational dialogue with the AI and speaking to it like it is a human assistant on the other side of a copy table, uploading your blueprint that we've generated with MarketSauce, and then continue to generate different types of content within that GPT that you can then take and go put into action right away. And so, again, we're not just talking all about this in theory. You're going to be able to take this content and develop a brand voice, create content for social media, create outlines for email sequences, create product descriptions, and a number of other things that you're capable of doing inside of tools like ChatGPT. And so the next steps that we're going to take for immediate actions to helping you with moving the needle in your business using the MarketSauce method is, one is we're going to be refining our blueprint. We're going to be turning it into a practical AI conversation, and then just decide one marketing channel, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, X, YouTube, whatever you're creating content for right now, whatever channel is your main point of focus, picking one. And then that's what you can take this content and go and put it into action and start to publish. But then also connecting with the community. And I'd love to hear your wins inside of our community as you all go and put this into action so we can hear how MarketSauce is working for you, and also insights as to where we can continue to use and leverage and grow the tool. Workshop is not going to cover necessarily full custom GPT development or advanced automation or taking what we're going to be doing right now and scaling it to like the nth degree. But this will be the foundational process that will then lead into building additional custom GPTs, your own buyers persona simulations, and then other advanced automations that other experts throughout the summit, like Chris Lantern, are going to be talking about. It's going to take things to the next level. We're starting with the foundations here so that you can be in an effective place to scale your process. And with that said, we're going to go ahead and start to kick off the interactive workshop. And so I'm going to be sharing a few links with you live right now that we will walk through this entire process together. And before we kick things off, I'm going to just very quickly double check in with you, Kelly. We've been checking in with the chat, make sure that if we don't have any outstanding questions or otherwise before we continue to go.
We are good. And I see lots of excited comments, but no specific questions.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to grab one link to start. I'm going to share it and I'm going to walk through, because for context for this, our app right now inside of MarketSauce is still an MVP, minimum viable product. We've been developing it. Franco's here on the call with us. He's going to be monitoring those of us that are signing up for this process live. We've never done this demonstration live before to this degree, like that we're running through with this many people, but we have ran it to where the automation has gone and created dozens of these blueprints at once throughout workshops. And so you guys are literally seeing the latest developments in what we have created here at MarketSauce. And so I'm going to do my best to walk you through step by step so that it is as clear as possible for how to go and get started creating your own blueprint and get started, because you are here right now live with us, part of the summit. And if you register for the event, we'll have your email noted to activate a free credit. These credits do retail for just the blueprints for $50 and the full buyer's briefs done for you up to $500. And the $50 blueprint is being included with your account right now so that you can go through the process and for free see exactly how you would go about producing this. So we will need to activate your accounts once they're getting added in. So Franco, I'm going to pull up my Slack just so I can make sure that I can see your messages on the side and make sure that we're able to activate everybody. But basically, you're just going to go ahead and create an account real quick, and then we will be activating everybody on this call right now live in real time. and adding that credit to your account. Once you are signing up your account, go ahead and click sign up, enter your information, and I'm gonna make sure that's all gonna go smooth. I'm gonna go ahead and test plus Gen AIU, and you're gonna add your email, create an account there. Once you enter your email and your password, you're going to add your name. So I'm going to say my name is Darby, last name is Rollins, and then company. Let's just say I'm going to make up a company here. So once you add your name and then your company, you're going to go ahead and click sign up. Once you've signed up, you will see that your account has not been activated yet. I'm going to do a quick pause and make sure that we don't have any questions about people going and signing up for this right now, because as I just did it and demonstrated, you should go through this process and see that your account has not been activated yet. And then we will go through and be activating your accounts here in real time. Now, because I just made a new test account, I'm actually going to sign out here and sign back in. I just got confirmation from Franco that we see some folks signing up and coming through. So that's great. Keep going through the process and signing through. I'm going to quickly go back and sign into our test account that I will walk you through the rest of this blueprint creation process for. So Kelly, if you would just pause, I'm going to ask you to come off just to make sure that my screen is being shared properly here. And you can see now that I have an avatar library tab selected on the left, and you can see two different avatars.
Yes, we can see that.
Okay. So this is what we're going to get into your account. A custom avatar. It's going to come with a name and age, gender, occupation, company, and then a campaign. Okay. I'm going to show you how to get to this point in a second, but just so you know what we're building towards, so that you know what you're going to get delivered into your account once you go through the process. What we're going to be submitting is context about our business, and then we'll be getting delivered based on this context that we'll be submitting an entire blueprint. That this is in total about 12 pages, so you'll probably get anywhere from 10 to 12, sometimes maybe more depending on how much context you give. But what this will do is give you the identified market segment based on the context that you're submitting. This is the foundation of what the MarketSauce is and what we teach and how we build an entire creative brief on, because if my company is this company, in this case, SideHustle, I gave it context about what the product is, and this is me giving my information that I need to know as a business owner or as a marketing agency working with a business, the information about that product or service, who they are, who they serve, and how are they different, any additional context, and then it's going to create this deep dive analysis of a segment it identifies as an ideal target market for me, which would be young professionals. So we'll get into the rest of this document in more detail in a second, but because everyone is going through and activating your account right now, I'm going to take a quick step back and just clicking the back button in the upper left-hand corner, I'm going to go back to my library. Now, when you are inside of your account and you're creating anything for a new avatar, we've organized it in a couple of ways right now. You've got your company and then you've got your campaign. When you create your account, you should be in the avatar library. That's correct right now. If you don't have an avatar created because you don't have a credit yet, let me do this. I'm going to walk through the process and then we'll make sure that everyone knows how to go through and get one of these first again. So I'm going to walk through how you would set up a new account. Franco, if you wouldn't mind going through and just making sure that everyone here is starting to be activated. I'm going to walk through it once as if your account was activated, and then we're going to take another couple minutes because, again, we've got a whole hour right here to actually do this stuff with you guys. That is the whole purpose of this right now. Once your account is activated, you're going to go to the bottom left-hand corner and select settings. Inside of settings, you're going to select companies, manage companies and campaigns. Once you do that, you can see I have two companies selected here. If I wanted to select another company for, let's just say, another client, I'm going to say client 3. is another company. Once I click the plus button to create a company, I can now create a campaign under that company. So imagine a company is a brand, and client three is a client that operates with 4 different brands that they have, and I'm an agency. I'm going to create a campaign for, let's just say, fall, say like Black Friday, fall Black Friday sale as a campaign for my client. I will name this campaign. You can always come back and edit the name, so don't get held up on the the naming of it just yet. Just know that the company can be interchanged with brand. And then is there a specific campaign that you wanted to create for that specific company or brand? Once I have my company and then a campaign set up, my next step from here is to go and create a blueprint specifically for this client. Upper left-hand corner, you'll see a create tab above the avatar library right now. You're going to select create. When you select create, if you've had your credits activated on your account, you'll have an available credit right here. You'll notice this still says at this time delivery 2 business days. That's because when we were doing these manually, like in working with ChatGPT and OpenAI and Claude to do all of the stuff with our own prompts, we would say 2 days. Now it's going to be about 3 to 5 minutes for you to get this into your account. I'm saying we got to get this account activated first, and then you'll be able to go through this process and have the automation work its magic for you. Assuming you've got a credit here, you're going to be able to go and click order. When I click order, I want to first start with selecting the company I want to create this around. So you can see I had 1 company, American Airlines, 2 Side Hustle Games, then the third company was client 3. If I click client 3, I will now see all the campaigns that I have set up under this specific client. Once I've selected my company and my campaign, go ahead and click next. And from here, this is where I want you to be thinking about, this is my company, this is my campaign. Now, what is the product or service that I'm selling here? Who am I? Who do you serve? And how do you serve them? What makes you different and unique from the competition? And what is the number one pain or goal you solve? And I'm going to make this one up on the fly because we have an already pre-built demo set up with that side hustle one. So I'm just going to show you how you would go and add this information. But I would encourage you to take a few extra minutes here to add the context that you can. Feel free to copy and paste information from your website. And if you already have a content brief about a product or service, that's great. I'm gonna just go how I would approach this product if I were to do this the first time, keeping in mind that this can often be iterative. After you go through the process once, you might want to go through it again and refine your campaign briefs over time. But the more clear and focused you are at the first one, the better results you're going to be to see where you need to make any sort of adjustments or pivots in your content for the next time you want to work through any new blueprints inside of this workflow. So I'm going to say, I am client 3, a strategic like media buying agency who specializes in 3xing our client results. I'm just making this up, but let's just say this is what you do. That's why your name is client 3. We serve local brick and mortar businesses in Austin, Texas, who do not have a strong digital presence, but want to grow and expand their reach within and outside the city. Okay, so you see, breaking this down, I am client 3. This is who I am, a strategic media buying agency specializing in 3xing our client results. Who you are, who we serve. We serve local brick and mortar businesses in Austin, Texas, who do not have a strong business but want to expand their reach within the city. And then how do you serve them? So say we do this and this is where your secret sauce is, or how do you get results for your clients that's unique, or like how you're serving them, and then what actually makes you unique. So we do this by a trio of local SEO plus paid ad strategies that are custom to our clients' goals every time. And so for the unique part, you may have something that is proprietary if you have certain data or workflows or IP or a process or a methodology. And so that's where what is like truly unique to you and your business that makes you stand out and helps your clients get better results. So I'll say we do this by our unique trace scaling, which combines just trace using from the word three. So again, making this up on the fly, which combines a proprietary process that translates all of our marketing material from clients into high converting content in multiple languages to capture markets right in their backyard that speak different languages. Okay. Maybe that's a good idea. Maybe it's not. But again, if you have some sort of algorithm, some sort of proprietary thing that could work here, you would add that into what makes you unique. What's the number one goal you solve? Let's say like the number one problem we solve is our clients are not marketers and want to just focus on serving their customers, but don't like getting caught up in the weeds of marketing. So I've just answered these questions kind of line by line about who we are, who we serve, how we serve them, what makes you unique and different from the competition, and what is the number one goal or problem that you solve. Okay, once you've done that, I'm going to go ahead and click next. Now on this next slide, we've left it open because often there's additional context that you can provide that might have been forgotten on the first answer or giving you a little bit more room here to brag about your service. And so I'm going to say we've helped over 100 clients 3x their business revenue and profits over the last 3 years using our methodology. And let's just say are 100% referral based, right? So a little more context, something you maybe didn't include on the first bit. So from this point, again, you can add more context here. If you have existing collateral in a Google document, you can copy and paste it into here. But ultimately, what you want to do is once you get to this page and fill out the extra context, go ahead and click submit. Now, what you'll see is your order has been received and something's cooking. You can see you have one product being processed. For details, check the order section here. If you click the order section, you'll see now we have the highlighted orders tab. We have completed orders, and then we have this order that is in process. In just a few minutes, this order will be appeared inside of our avatar library here, where I could open it up and engage with that report like the example is here from that front. So that process of just going through the content brief, giving it the who you are, who you serve, how you serve them, what makes you different, and any extra context that you can brag about yourself is, at least from our experience and working with people to get results from AI and better results, all comes down to knowing at least those questions to start. And at least those questions to start, because that gives the AI a focal point to then run all the additional prompts and the different automations that we have running in the background right now that you can see it's still cooking. It takes some time to process. This process used to take anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes just for one of these 10-page reports, and now it's sometimes under 5. And that's going to produce this 10-page report for you. So I see that we can see some of the comments here. There's one credit in my account. Once you see that credit and you have your company and campaign created, you can go and order a blueprint with that credit. But make sure The fast track to getting your campaigns set up properly is simply by going to settings, selecting companies, and then making sure that your company is added here, and then you add a campaign that you want to create a blueprint around. Quickly, I'm going to go back and check my order. It's still processing. While that order is being processed, I'm going to give a quick demo about where we are going from this point inside of MarketSauce. It's not fully functional just yet, but this is a taste of what we are building into the platform that I will show you how to use the MarketSauce Mentalist to achieve something similar inside of ChatGPT. That will be the second part of this workshop. And we had to set this up manually, so I will be demonstrating a completed brief, one for here, the Side Hustle Games. Once your avatar is complete, and please do let me know once you guys are going through, and if one submitted your report, let me know once it's submitted and the process is started, and then let me know once you can see it inside of your account. We can see here, I've got the MarketSauce buyer's brief. This will only be part one, the master buyer's blueprint. And now we can see, and the book that I shared with you, that manuscript, breaks down every section of this. And it also includes the prompts so that you can go through inside of something like ChatGPT or Claude and follow a similar process to achieve a similar output. We use this in tandem with our own projects internally as well as clients to save time on generating these reports, because they do take time to generate. As fast as AI helps make that time go, it's still something that I would consider a bit more tedious than need be when it comes to streamlining this part of the marketing process. And that's why we've been building out this whole portal central around creating the blueprints, because this is where our entire marketing campaigns start. And what you can see now, as for the side hustle example, we gave it information about our board game. It's based in Austin, Texas. We develop party games. This is a game that I'm involved with. And we launched on Kickstarter back in 2019. And if you're not ready for all the words and ready to submit, don't feel rushed that you have to submit the credits right now. If you want to spend more time on the inputs that you do right here, that's 100% okay. Just make sure that you're watching and following along with the process so you can come and follow back as well. And so this other example for just a board game is, what is the product description? What is the campaign going to be around? We've given it all of this information, and MarketSauce came up with a main market segment of young professionals, right? Occupation varied, entrepreneurs, creatives, and creatives and corporate employees. But by analyzing this segment, we can see geographic, demographic, psychographic information, needs, wants, desires, behaviors, and pain points, all great things that we want to have a good high level understanding of, but we want to go further than that. We really want to get into sign of what's making the mind of this market tick. What is driving their buying decisions and their behavior around that. All of that's going to stem from what's the primary goal of this market, and how MarketSauce has identified that is a innovative networking. Okay. So if I'm a young professional and I want a goal, and I have a goal of being more innovative when I'm networking, what are some topics that I can speak to that are going to relate to that goal? Business ideation, ice-breaking activities, skill development, team collaboration, entrepreneurial thinking. These are all things that I can say and think about now that are along the same topic related to that goal. Primary complaints. What is the problem that I have? The number one problem. Maybe there's limited networking avenues that I'm experiencing. And so the topic related to this primary complaint be a networking constraint. And I'm sure some of you have experienced some of these as well. I know I certainly have. Like, traditional networking is just like unoriginal, or maybe it's like limited engagement, or there's no creativity involved, or it's not really enriching any of my skills, or I don't have time to go to a networking event, or it's like a superficial connection. Like, that stands out to me personally, because in some sense some part of me is part of this target market. And so as I'm reading through this, I am discerning what stands out to me. What do I want to validate when I go talk to another segment of this market and in real people and get this validation? Do I have accessibility issues? Is there a predictable format? Low fun factor? Like, traditional networking equals low fun factor, no fun, enter side hustle, right? Well, I'm speaking to the topics that are going on inside of the mind of the market, because this is all related to their goal of being more innovative when they're networking. Now, as we go down here, and we won't touch on every single one of these, but that's why I gave you the manuscript so you can go through and see, and you'll have these that you can read and review. Highlight. We just integrated this with Google Docs because we didn't see the need to recreate a whole entire Google Doc thing where you can highlight, you can bold, you can interact, you can make edits to this document, make notes and comments, share it with your team. What are the things that stand out here? What's a secondary goal? Why do I want to be more innovative in networking? I want to enhance my social skills. I want to become more confident when I'm public speaking. Like all these secondary goals are things that I'm going to get from my primary goal of the innovative networking. So I'm going to learn how to network tactfully. I'm going to build my personal brand. I'm going to cultural sensitivity in business, right? Like all these different ideas are coming up now, ways that we could speak to. And now we see just here, how can we goal descriptors with positioning statements innovatively with side hustle, enhance your networking and innovatively in an innovatively fun way, strategically build strategic and forward thinking networking skills simultaneously, and so on and so forth. With again, how are you speaking to the goals of your market with this information here? A lot of this content right away, you can go test in email subject lines and quick social media posts and things that in day to day conversation with your target market, you can test and see what's resonating with that market more. And as you go down further and further into this blueprint, you get more into the dreams. So, what are the dreams of this character? To become a recognized leader, to harness their creative skills, to launch successful entrepreneurial ventures, right? What are we really helping people achieve as a result of their primary goal, which we're identifying here? And all of this with the caveat that if I generated this blueprint and I knew intuitively that my segment that was not young professionals, that they did not want like to be more innovative when they were networking, then I would want to refine the blueprint. I would want to look at the context that I provided and see why is AI thinking that this is who I'm talking to? Is this even on track in the first place? Is it, if it is, fantastic, you're on the right track. But this is the first step for the human in the loop, that you need to be involved to know if AI is just AIing, and if it was talking about something that was totally out of left field, and I knew it was not the case for my target market because this is my business and I already have a level of subject matter expertise in this field. Then I need to know, one, do I need to refine my inputs? They say garbage in, garbage out. Was my prompt very good that I was giving it for context? Or is this on point and is this saving me all this time in market research to put all this stuff together that I can now take into the next step of my interaction? And one of the really key things here that I think is often overlooked by many in business, especially if you're not coming into like creating a brief like this from a traditional marketing perspective, is this is one specific segment that we've identified. This is a lot of context around that segment that you have time to go through and read and review. But when you go down to the very bottom, I want to share this with you before we dive into the next phase. Offer targets. Often, it's easy to think that we serve one, two, or three different segments of the market. But what if there was multiple more segments that were right there in your own backyard that you hadn't even considered or weren't pursuing because that was something that was in the back of your mind that you hadn't thought about in quite some time, or you knew it, but you hadn't really thought to consider talking to them in your marketing copy? The last section of this blueprint is going to take that main market segment and identify 10 different micro segments based on that segment. So we see here, name, age, gender, occupation. Emily, a marketing manager. Why? Emily seeks innovative ways to encourage team building. So we're talking about young professionals as the main segment. But now I'm looking down at the offer targets and I'm seeing I got a marketing manager. I just got an entrepreneur. Now I've got Sarah, the software developer. She's looking for ways to break out of her coding shell and foster soft skills like pitching and collaboration, which Side Hustle facilitates. Like that's a great frame to approach how this game could potentially be presented as a solution to someone that is a software developer that is coding all day and they're looking for ways to not be in their code mode and a way to build soft skills. Like I'm seeing a few steps ahead for how we can now create, even if we wanted to, a separate blueprint just for Sarah and software developers with a little bit of an adjustment to my content brief. And my hope for you is that as you go through and are looking through the outputs from this first initial blueprint that you're generating, is what ideas is it giving you for ways that you can optimize your current marketing efforts and identify additional segments of your market that the same exact product or service that you're selling right now could just be repositioned to one or multiple of these additional market segments and start to engage with them to just expand your reach and open up new markets and new opportunities for you, just by identifying different segments that were maybe there right under your nose and you hadn't been considering them. Now, with all of that said, I want to take a quick second to pause. Can anyone confirm that they now, inside of their avatar library, you go ahead and refine this. Looks like it's still in process. So I'm going to take a quick second to pause here because technology does technology stuff sometimes. And maybe there's something going on with the automation front because I more than likely should have seen that blueprint processed on my end. You can do a quick check in here. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Again, this is live, this is interactive, and we're working to help make sure that these systems are working for you so that you can get this onto the second stage of this workshop specifically.
Darby is checking on that. I'd love to see if you want to share in the chat, like where, now that you've seen this modeled, where do you see this being most useful in your business? Is it around content creation? Is it around brainstorming new product ideas? Is it around getting to know your ideal client even better? There's so much, as we shared in the beginning of the workshop, there's so much amazing content here. And I think it's important to see where you can leverage it in your business. Again, like that immediate integration and implementation. So, what components have you maybe identified of where you're missing some details or a deep dive into your business that you're seeing this MarketSauce fill that gap? Because I know there's always gaps. Brainstorming product ideas. Yeah, Yolanda, that's one of my favorite things. Darby, I don't know if you remember, like in one of the first iterations, it identified like a client avatar for me that was they were like yoga instructors. And we were joking and laughing about it, but I was like, yoga and online course creation. But it really just gives you some like a wider perspective on things that maybe we've never thought about, which is always what I share about what I love about AI. I feel like in business, we're all like, we're focused like this, and then using AI actually helps us go, what else, what other possibilities could be out there? So I love that, Yolanda, with product ideas, ideal target audiences, maybe ones we've never seen before. Derek, new product ideas, knowing your target client better, additional targets, target audience research, content creation, understanding more of what the ideal client needs are, launching a new service, awesome, finding market niches. Shelly, going deeper to truly understand your prospect and creating a strategic plan to them. Yeah, all great uses and certainly all things that are applicable right now. As I shared, we run our business, you only know what, and then that's how we run our business. That's how we create products. That's how we create marketing campaigns. That's how we create social media content. And when we start to have a bigger view, when we start to have assistance with thinking outside of our box, then that's when we can really start to create really dynamic content that doesn't always hit the same avatar. That's when we can become really creative with other products and services that we may be able to create outside of the ones that we've been thinking of. So super powerful here.
Yeah.
Love these answers.
Yeah, product innovation is, I think, a big one that if you're not looking at ways to continue to improve your product on a regular basis, that can give you just some insights from a different perspective about like how could we improve what we're already doing like in our existing process and services, right? And that just as one example, but going back to what Ron Lynch, who, again, when talking about market segmentation, he was the first person to really open my eyes and teach me and like really how powerful that is. When you think about it, if you're selling one product to one customer, Like how much money is just being left on the table by not considering all of the different segments. And maybe you don't want to sell to every single different segment, but the point being, if you don't have at least three different segments that you're going to be like creating a campaign around that you can sell to, you're going to run into issues with scaling regardless. And just having three solid segments that you were like locked in on is great. You don't have to have 10, 20, 50 that you're doing. Some, if you're, depending on the size of your company, obviously it's going to give you more resources to be able to market and invest in different expansion opportunities. But like we had an example, I think it was on a workshop a few months ago where the example was like a tattoo removal service. But if your tattoo removal service is targeting, let's say, 23-year-old bachelorettes who had a crazy weekend in Vegas or something and want to get this tattoo removed before the wedding, versus another avatar that you could serve might be like 45-year-olds that are just getting like at one stage in life and they're looking at getting tattoo removed because of some other factor that is driving that decision. A 22-year-old bachelorette versus a 45-year-old like established professional that wants to like remove his tattoos to open up new career opportunities, for example, just making this up. The language that you're going to use to speak to those two markets is totally different. Same thing goes if you're training people on dogs. If you're talking to a dog trainer that has like you're training dogs for like championship breeding and you want your dogs to be X, Y, or Z versus no, I just want Fido to come back to me when I'm playing fetch with him, right? Like maybe your service can do both of those, but if you're talking about like just someone that doesn't really want their dog to be anything more than just like a great retriever, like it's going to miss the mark in terms of that message landing. And so just like silly examples, but something to consider when you're looking at the different segments, and something that I just got to notice that I think that we're locked and loaded on one of the issues. We might have just been a little slow on this right here. So Franco said doc is ready. All right, cool. All right, Marike, we see the avatar blueprint still on one credit, playing with everything on the menu. Yeah, Doran, if you're still on one credit and you added the company campaign had been made, you're going to want to go through and create and submit one of those credits. And so I just got my notice. So this took, I think, all of 10 minutes this time, probably because we had a bunch of folks going at once. But now you can see in my order that we were at right before, now I have a link back to that client 3 fall client sale who, what we can see, I just opened up my document. I am client 3. This is what I filled out. If you guys remember just 15 minutes ago, right? I added my product or service, I added my additional context. And now what MarketSauce did was identify, again, the graphic overview. Who are they? Where are they? Located in primary areas in Austin, Texas, right? Because I was very specific that we serve local Austin, Texas owners, needs, wants, desire to establish the business as a top choice for local consumers and beyond. Primary goal, digital growth, right? This is what we were talking about in the inputs. That's what I said, like they wanted to do that. They want online expansion. What are the topics related to that? What primary complaint, lack of expertise. It's pulling this from what I gave it. The number one problem, they don't want to focus. They don't want to get into the weeds of marketing. On the topic of the primary complaint of lack of expertise, digital complexity, confused over best practices, struggling with content creation, uncertain about targeting ads, like fear of wasting money in ineffective digital ads, difficulty engaging online consumers. Like this language is going to speak to the person that in this scenario of an agency working with local like Austin-based businesses, like this is the stuff that like they're worried about and that we can alleviate as just made up agency in this case, right? And so we see the same thing. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. Remember again, offer targets. So yes, local Austin-based business, sure, that's a fine starter point, but have you considered John, the restaurant owner, Sarah, the boutique owner, Mike, the auto repair shop manager, fitness studio owner, right? All of these different segments we can continue to expand upon. We can go and create additional language and campaigns for each one of these segments. And that's what section 2 inside of the buyer's brief, the strategic creator brief, is all about. But we don't get there without stopping here first and making sure that we have all that information locked and loaded in the first place. So we will again be posting this video so that you guys can go through and work through the contents of the workshops and get these things out there. And again, if you haven't submitted that credit yet and you have that credit added to your account, feel free to take some extra time after this workshop to go through the process and get to working with it. But from that point, it looks like the briefs are running, the blueprints are being created. We've got a few confirmations already that the avatar is inside of the library. So what I'm going to do now is show a quick demo about where we're taking things inside of the MarketSauce platform for what you guys can expect, because now that you have an account, you'll be getting some updates just for as we're developing things over the course of the building out this tool. But I'm going to go show you where we're going to with it now, but how you can also actionize these blueprints right away inside of ChatGPT using our Mentalist GPT, which I'll be sharing with you just next. But basically, where we're going with this is to create a simulation environment where I can open up my blueprint that's targeting Avery for the side hustle games. And this one, we've already had to set this up manually. And so you won't be able to do this on every account. But for here, this now is effectively the knowledge base that I have given my AI to work with and reference point. And what that means is when I click this little chat icon right here, and I open up a conversation with Avery, and this is what we're building towards. So you should see this as a feature that we will be making available, hopefully in the very near future. I'm going to say, hi, who are you? And what's happening in the background is we're plugged up with OpenAI and we're using the latest, probably I think it's GPT 4.0 model. And we've given that model instructions to interact with this avatar blueprint to engage with us like it is a buyer simulation. And so you can see the response. Hi there, I'm a young professional in a tech-savvy city like Austin, where creativity meets career ambition. I'm all about finding genuine, productive connections. I love engaging with activities that are fun, like the side hustle game. How about you? I'm good. Just thinking of some ways we can create marketing events that you would attend and actually invite your friends to. Right. And so I'm just going to dialogue with it inside of this thread and tell it what I'm looking for. And going back to the conversational aspect of it, there's still some formatting things that we need to get locked in here. But when we transition from this section to the last part of our workshop inside of the ChatGPT simulation, it'll probably be a little bit more formatted, just given how this is under development and construction. But you can see that sounds exciting. Here's a few innovative marketing ideas that would not only attract me, but make me want to invite my friends. One, interactive gate night. And so it's giving me ideas based on what this avatar has been like trained on for its knowledge base, which is the blueprint that we've created. Interactive game nights, creativity workshops, themed networking mixers, storytelling nights, experiential pop-ups. Again, all things to consider as someone that's maybe a brand owner looking to populate or not populate, to create a campaign around that. But this is effectively helping us create a focus group with just right with the AI version of our avatar that we can create a simulation around. We can test ideas. We can get some feedback on those ideas. And Marike was one of our case study partners this year where we're testing this out. And it was really interesting to see how even giving it an idea, I'm thinking about doing this. What would you think about that? What would you say about that? This is quite directly how I interact with ChatGPT more often than not, like 80-90% of the times. I'm getting feedback in and then I'm like, okay, that's great. Can you give me this next thing? Okay, that's nice, but I don't like that. Can you tell me why you thought that way or this? And I didn't start out talking with ChatGPT or OpenAI or any Claude or any Gemini instance like that. But that's one of the most effective ways that you can get better content out of here is by giving it a good set of knowledge and context to start with, and then to open the conversation and engage. And so I just asked it, and right, I'd want to validate this before I'd spend a bunch of time or money putting on an event like this. But my AI version of my avatar, Avery, of the young professional, says, I would go to an interactive game night featuring the game. This event combines elements I love: networking, creativity, team collaboration, and skill building. It's ideal because it breaks the ice effortlessly and helps build genuine connections through shared challenges. Here's how a Facebook might look, right? The formatting, again, we can overlook that right now, but game night of creativity and connection, ready to shake up networking routine, dive into an unforgettable evening right here. Connect. This looks like something that I would attend. And me knowing that I'm, in a lot of cases, the avatar for this is a good vetting point for, does this make sense to go and put out there? And fun fact, we did do an interactive game night twice, in fact, a few years ago when we were testing some of this out, and it had some of these elements to it. And so I can already see that, hey, some of this stuff, like I can totally see that landing. Obviously, there's still logistics and execution, setting up the event and other things that are going to go into that. Engaging team challenges, genuine networking, skill development. These are all being pulled from, you guessed it, the blueprint that we've created, because this is here. And so as we continue to develop and refine this specific MarketSauce portal, it will be referencing this actively. And so this will act as a living document that if I found out information or found out language or found out extra context, I would go and just simply add that in here, right? You can edit it just like a Google document, and then that would then feed the context of my conversation, right? And that's how, when you open up a chat GPT thread, you can give it more context to reference as a point. And that's going to put the pause on the demo of where we're at with MarketSauce. You guys can see that's where we're going with it. It's not quite there yet, but moving on to now where every one of us who has a chat GPT account can start to take this and put it into action immediately and continue to expand on what we've given you here with this blueprint. I'm going to share one more link, the MarketSauce Mentalist GPT link. I'm going to share with you guys right now. If you guys go to marketsauce.ai/mentalist, you will go directly to the GPT. For right now, we are only doing one credit to start. Just keep an eye out for updates on additional credits and what that might look like. Right now, like I said, each credit is $50 per, as we have them right now. But depending on if you guys do want more credits and depending on how many credits you do want, more than open to giving credit pack deals and things of that nature. So you guys can continue to use it in a way that's economical for multiple uses. But please reach out to me if you're interested in it, because we're knee deep in the trenches and building this stuff. And we're looking for ways that we can make this easier for you guys to all use in your business and use it often and have it be something that is a utility that you'll want to continue to keep working. Yeah, credit. Yeah, Kelly, you need 50 credits. So we're gonna transition at this point into the last phase of our workshop. We got about 20 minutes left here. And so what I want to leave everyone with here is like, one, you should have gotten an account set up inside of the MarketSauce portal. Two is created a custom blueprint by going through that process and using your credit. And if you don't do that right now, do it at some point in the next day or throughout the summit. Make sure you spend time filling out that content brief for context, and then you'll get that blueprint back. Now that you've got that blueprint, you want to open up the MarketSauce Mentalist GPT that you can get at marketsauce.ai/mentalist. And we're going to do two things with this. One, for context, before I open up that screen, I made one small update to the Mentalist this morning when I gave it the instructions that we have been using to simulate a chat environment. So just by asking it to assume the personality of your buyer persona, it should start to act like your buyer and start to integrate and have those type of simulations inside of the Mentalist. But it has these entire instructions in this book inside of the GPT. So if you understand what the MarketSauce 9000 recipe can do, you can simply ask the Mentalist to do that for you. That means come up with a brand style guide. That means come up with USPs for my audiences. It means coming up with a creative brief. And you can even copy and paste those prompts directly into it to align its direction even further. But in order to really set the stage with this Mentalist, I'm going to go here into my portal And just like you would download a Google document and share it with anybody that on your team or upload it to Claude or otherwise, I'm going to go to File, Download. I don't know if there's any difference in downloading a Google a Word doc versus a PDF. I usually just go PDF, but you can probably do Word doc just fine. I'm going to get that download, and then I'm just going to upload it. Oops, let me do that. Here we go. All right, I accidentally clicked one of the prompts. This is important because you need to set the stage for the mentalist to know who we're talking to. And you could go through this mentalist and create a blueprint in similar fashion manually. But again, we're using automations versus the manual process here to save time. And I want to give it that context that I've created here. So I'm going to first say intake this context as my first command. Now, what this is going to do, immediately the mentalist says, here's an overview of what you just gave me. Sign test for Side Hustle Games, second edition launch, young professionals as the primary target audience. So now I know that ChatGPT with the MarketSauce Mentalist GPT that has the whole buyer's brief book knows what I'm talking about right here. And it's giving me this information. It's letting me know that it's got this context for me. And from this point, I can take it any number of directions that I want. So now I'm going to say I want to consider some of the other market segments and expand on my audience for my strategic brief. Please do that for the top 5 segments you identified. And so this being a conversational prompt, telling it, I want you to like look at these other segments and what does this look like for me? And so now instead of just young professionals, now I'm going deeper on any number of these segments, entrepreneurs and startup founders, and it's taking that and now I can really go deep on any number of these, or I can choose to highlight a specific one and continue my conversational thread for them. Because again, this game for corporate professionals seeking career growth is going to have different benefits to the job that they're looking to get done versus a freelance or gig economy worker who may have an alternative goal that they're looking at hitting. And so I can simply say, hey, I want to position Side Hustle in a way that would speak to this person directly, give me 10 Facebook ads that would work there, or create a brand brief that would align with that type of message. And when I'm thinking about any sort of prompting inside of ChatGPT to get the most out of it from what I want, is you need to seed it context first and foremost, which is I hope if you take nothing else away from this workshop is that context is king, garbage in, garbage out. So it makes so much more sense to spend extra time getting the brand brief aligned to this point that we've got this set up right here, but then the world is your oyster, so to speak. Like, where do you want to go from this point? What do you need to get done to make sure that you can actually get the job done? Let's just say in this case, I want to write a launch sequence to pre-sell to all 5 of these segments, but I'm going to need 5 different emails that are inviting them to a face like an interactive game night that we're going to do a game launch at. ChatGPT doesn't know that's what I want to do yet because I haven't told it. So what I'm going to do to tell it is not type. I like to talk to ChatGPT, and I do that through just a simple voice dictation tool. I use a tool called Voice In, but I think every single laptop or PC, like Mac or PC, has some sort of built-in voice dictation. I'm going to tell it what I want it to do in the order of operations that I want it to get done. But and so this is where it's more about how do you want to approach getting a result with your tool, and how are you going to have a conversation that is going to lead to a specific output that you need. Say that's great. We're going to be launching a second edition of the game soon, and we want to do it during an interactive game night that we're going to invite all of these different segments of our audience to, so that we could learn in person what they would get the most out of the game, and also do pre-sales at the game while doing a fun interactive game to engage with everybody. First things first is I want you to write out the event so that it speaks to the number one goal that we solve for that would be most relevant to all of the different segments that we're going to be creating the event for. And then once you've created that event, I want you to create an outline for a series of emails that we can create and also repurpose as social media posts to invite people over the next 2 weeks to this event so that we make sure that people actually show up. And in my head, I'm like imagining how I would tell a, a copywriting partner that I'm working with what I'd want, or a freelance professional that I'm trying to assign a task to right here. I'm just thinking, okay, what do I need to tell them so that they know what I want so they can give me the output that I'm looking for? If I'm not clear on what I want here, I might just ask ChatGPT, hey, I'm thinking about this. What would you do to do that? And it might suggest this, it might suggest more than this, but ultimately, knowing where you want to end up is going to help you get to that result that much faster with any number of these prompts and keeping it in that back and forth. Like I just threw ChatGPT the ball. Now it's throwing it back. It's my job now to read, to discern, to choose if I want to go through with this or if I want to rewrite it, have it completely go and redo the thing. But here's the event concept: pitch, play, and connect. So, goal, in person game night, event flow, registration, introduction, right? And so it's giving me all the insights here, email and social media campaigns over 2 weeks. And so now it's giving me the whole outline for something like this launch. Obviously, this isn't at the whole agentive AI. It's not just going to go and do and set up everything up for me. But if I don't know the result of what I'm getting towards, like how would I assume that an AI agent just going to go and know what I want in the first place? At least for right now, right? We're dealing with these tools as this is all available to us without needing to get super technical and in the weeds. But execution is obviously critical here for how am I going to put this stuff into action? If I'm confused at what I need to do with it, I can ask, okay, that's great. How can I easily go about doing this? Right? If I don't know what to do, ask it. If I'm not sure about like how would I even set up a virtual event? Hey, what are some platforms that I could use to set up a virtual event on? Right? Step one, set up your event registration page. And whether this is you or whether this is you want to give this to somebody on your team that can go and set up all these different steps, like having an outline list like this is going to be huge for just getting some stuff over to the finish line because it's very clear what the end result is to get these email campaigns out and rocking and rolling, right? Prepare for the day of event, create printed shops. Okay. Like all this stuff's coming out, giving me more and more information. Step five. And so now, in a matter of 12 minutes, I went from the blueprint to having a full email launch sequence and basically an outline for an event that I can put on. And I don't know about you, but before it came to writing this type of stuff out, before AI was part of the equation, this is stuff that I'd have in my head, but I would take me weeks to even figure out what am I going to say or write, or I would just procrastinate and not do it. And I'm just speaking from experience. For me, I don't really like writing emails, but like you need to tell people that events are happening and you need to tell people that this stuff is like going on and you need to communicate what's happening in a business or with an internal launch or any number of other things. And that is where, I find the most use out of AI in a situation like this is that instead of sitting back and saying, oh, it would be great if we did an event like this, but I got to write emails and then I got to write all the social media posts and I got to do this and I got to do that. And all the things that could be roadblocks for us to get started with turning an idea into reality. Now, this is one example of so many examples that now that you know this is possible, is this something that I'm going to want to take action on like right away? Well, like, maybe this isn't something we want to put on in Q4 of 2024, but maybe this is something that I know now that I've already created this outline that whenever we are ready to take action on this in Q1 or Q2 of 2025, I'm like, oh, yeah, like we need an event launch, interactive game night. I got you, partner. Right. And then now we can go ahead and execute more effectively because again, we already know who we're talking to. And it's more important to me rather than just writing this content to say, oh, now we need to go and find an actual place for the event before we we tell people that we're going to be running it. Unless AI is going to go and build a relationship with an event provider here in Austin or multiple event providers that are going to host the event, unless AI is going to go and find sponsors for the event. Like there's things that I can use it to go and help me find and identify where are some event locations in Austin, Texas that can make sense. Where are some potential sponsors in town that would make sense to be relevant for me to reach out to? But I need to still go and open up those conversations and push those initiatives forward. I can just do it so much more effectively because I have all of these assets and this resources and our secret mentalist GPT companion to help push us along the way. And so wrapping things up here at the top of the workshop, we covered the MarketSauce method and using first and foremost your own context and business understanding to create a solid foundation, which turned into a blueprint through the portal that everyone here has a credit that they can use and test out how that process would work as a foundation for building what could ultimately turn into a full campaign brief that is going to take an idea and turn it into action. But without knowing who we're going to be talking to in the first place, if I was trying to sell side hustle interactive game nights to auto shop SEO, like auto shop mechanics who really just wanted to grow their business, and side hustle is not going to do a whole lot for them getting more SEO, right? Context is everything here, and making sure that you're aligned on that context in the first place, regardless of what AI tool you're using. You can do a similar thing in Claude, for example. Just making sure that you know who you're talking to first and foremost, that you understand your market at a deeper level, and that you can connect with them through the events and the content and the community that you create so that everything is aligned and in action. And rather than taking weeks or months to put that together, we're talking about a matter of, an hour or two can get all that stuff locked in to helping you get your ideas out there and more effective. And so then as we continue with the additional events throughout the summit, and the different speakers talking about other ways that you can apply AI and scaling, just take something away from this and that the context is everything, and being able to connect directly and speak to your ideal target audience is going to be that foundational element for what you can build all the other future campaigns off of. And with that said, Kelly, anything on your end or other questions? We got about 30 minutes till our first interactive game of workshop. And so have some time in between now and then, but I'm open to take some questions, or if anyone had any insights that they took away from this or otherwise, would love to hear them. But yeah, we're here to support you guys throughout the rest of the summit. And this video, I don't think I can edit these. I'm not going to even try to edit these while we're doing the summit lives. Expect some of these edits to be added back into the summit space after I chop them up this evening. And then yeah, we'll be all ready to keep rocking and rolling.
I just want to add, I love how people are already seeing where this is going to fit into their business. And if you weren't someone who had that clarity earlier, hopefully after this last segment, you guys are starting to see how it can fill a missing gap in your business. I think that's important to identify and solidify right now, again, to ensure that you don't have this amazing piece of content and then you're still wheeling around, should I use it for this? Should I use it for that? I think in terms of implementation and like immediate integration, just recognizing like this is one gap that I've had in my business and I know that I can use this to fill that gap is really key before signing off from this session, to just guarantee that you're going to really utilize this and you're going to know exactly where you can integrate it moving forward.
I see a question too, and expanding a little bit about how to use the mentalist. I'll say again, we talk about AI, you can do so much with it. Specifically, the mentalist is trained on the whole buyer brief process, as well as being able to interact with it like you would engage with one of these buyer personas. So use the mentalist to get clear on what segment of the market that you want to create a content around or a marketing campaign around in the first place, and use it to really lock in on, if not just one, I would recommend at least three market segments that would, each one of them would be a great target market for you to create a campaign around, and just get really clear on who that is, what they want, and how your brand or your business can solve their problems specifically. Another question, may have missed this in the beginning, about Gamma. So Gamma is one of our 2 platinum sponsors for this event to make this event possible. As Tyrese just said, you can create presentations like PowerPoint in just a few minutes. Fun fact, the presentation that you saw me create today, I created about 20 minutes before we went live on this session, and actually about an hour before for both of the presentations that I presented here today. And so Gamma, I think it's a no-brainer tool for anyone that's in content creation, but has ideas that they need to present to get other people like bought in, or seeing what those ideas look like, or walking people through an idea in any sort of presentation process. The Summit website was actually, if you go to gamma.app, you will go to their website, and just you'll be able to see exactly what Gamma does through there. They have recently enabled websites as a feature. And so if you go to the scalewithai-summit.com website, that website was actually built in Gamma, as were the presentations that we shared here today. So one of the things that we're looking to continue to do with Gamma throughout the summit is discover new ways that people are creating content with it, but also additional features that the Gamma team can learn back from how we are using the tools, or how we like to use the tools, so that they can take that back to their development team and just have more insight for creating a more powerful tool. Gamma has become a very popular tool over the course of the past year. I think they've been doing building since right around the time that Jasper was a thing as well, early 2021, if not sometime around that time. So it's a great tool, a lot of different use cases. There are other AI generated presentation platforms out there that you may or may not be using already. I would just encourage you that if you are using Gamma already, to check out one of these live sessions to connect with the Gamma team and share how you're using it. We'd love to hear how you're using it on those sessions. Yeah, I made my personal brand website in Gamma as well. And I'm experimenting with a few other creative ways to use it, just for seeing how we can get the most out of this tool. But it is a powerful tool for making it very simple and easy to get your ideas out there and into action. And we'll be having some additional demos around Gamma to make it possible. All right, guys. Any questions, comments, thoughts, insights, or takeaways from the last workshop, or what you're looking forward to in the summit? We've got a little bit of time here before we kick off, and so I want to make sure that if you guys have any questions about where to find information once we do have it, make sure that you guys are all added into the community link, so that you've got all of our events.
Maybe I was going to say that this is just the beginning. And people think that we're already halfway. No, this is just the beginning of the summit. And I think that there's so much more exciting stuff to see.
Yeah, we're 11:30 a.m. Central Time on the 5th, and we'll be signing off at 5 p.m. Central Time on the 7th, with about 8 hours of live streaming sessions each day. And so this afternoon we got a bunch of great not panelists this afternoon. We got a bunch of great presentations as well. Ashley Gross talking about ways that you can drive revenue, customer retention with AI, and her experience with her AI Workforce Alliance. And we got Chris Landon after her. This is all after the Gamma workshop coming up, talking about AI agents and setting up your own AI voice agents and things of that nature. And we've got a conversation with Chris Daigle, who's the founder, CEO of Chief AI Officer, talking about how they're using AI and helping organizations onboard to AI at the mid-market to enterprise level, and some insights that they're seeing about the developments in AI from their perspective. And then John Munsell today will be the keynote capping off today's call, with his conversation is going to be revolving around creating an AI first culture at your organization, which ties in very nicely to what Howdy, their keynote with Jacqueline and Frank on Wednesday, we'll be capping off that day about creating an AI enabled workforce, and what they're doing at Howdy to approach that. They've got 85 something employees. Most of their organization is based outside of the US, but they also help additional organizations scale up their operations and their teams, not just with people, but people that are also AI enabled, and how important it is to be investing in your teams, to learning these tools, to staying ahead of the game. Because I think someone said it earlier here, you probably heard the quote before: AI is not going to take your job. Somebody that's using AI is more than likely going to take your job. And if your business is using AI, you're going to be thumbs up, big thumbs up, Tyrese. If your organization's using it and you're looking for ways that you can stay ahead of the competition, finding that just one or two things that can help streamline and make your workflows more efficient, more productive, can make all the difference in staying a few steps ahead. especially when you look at that dynamic in the conversation right now with AI. A lot of companies, I don't know if you want to speak to this from some of your experience and kind of what you're talking about, or what you've talked about in your demo, Tyrese, but like what you've seen in the workforce with some companies being more open to AI versus some that it's a big no in some organizations.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because I was laid off at the beginning of the year. Then the presentation I'm giving is on how I created an app for resume writing, was because I really wanted to dive into AI. And so when I got the interviews with the different jobs, it was interesting that they wanted to hire me, but then an interview is a two-way road. And so I would ask them, so what are your plans with AI? And that's where everything would fall apart. There would be no goal, there would be no direction. They are waiting for something. I don't know. But it was, should you be waiting? You should at least be dabbling in it or trying to get your workforce to play with it at the very least, because this is the future. You can't ignore it. It would be like when the internet came in and said, and then you would say, oh, I don't need a website. What do I need a website for? It's that integral to our future. Yeah. And I was really quite surprised by the fact that there were so many that just didn't have any plan whatsoever to use AI.
Curious here, if you want to drop a comment, let us know within your own organization, like how active are you using AI in your day to day? Is anyone at a zero and this is your first kind of like you're testing the waters here? Would you say you're like 50-50 kind of using it? And some days you're not.
I want to say that the company that finally hired me, they were not using it at all, but they were really super interested in using it. And that's why I went with them, because they were actually actively trying to get somebody who could actually show them how to navigate the space. So cool.
Yeah, I think it's also it's good to see how intentional you were about working with a company that aligned with your own values, as opposed to just taking the first opportunity that came up that
Yeah.
would have, if you weren't allowed to use AI at all inside of your own role when you knew that you wanted to or could have, and it can make your job better, then that's just not setting you up for a good environment to work in.
It's setting me up to work for Blockbuster instead of Netflix,
Mm.
basically.
We got a few responses coming in using AI for hours on a daily basis. And another one, see, I'm an expat living in Mexico. I've created an app for expats what are we saying? To refine their resumes, create cover letters. I feel like you and Tyree should talk. Match them to remote positions and create mock interview questions to the best match position. It's fantastic. Your life coach using AI in your coaching practice and creating customized GPTs for life coaches to help automate and streamline their business processes. I think since we have a few minutes right here, would anyone be interested in seeing how you could take something like a blueprint that we developed and making a GPT based on that? Is anyone interested in like how would I make a custom GPT in general, a chat GPT? We've got a few sessions that will cover this to some degree, but I figure if we have a little bit of time here, got a few yeses. I'll just go ahead and assume that
Yeah, I think it's a
would be
really cool thing that we can all learn for sure.
cool. So I'll just, because we'll be recording this for some context, we just created our blueprint inside of the MarketSauce platform, and we're going to be showing you now how to very quickly open up ChatGPT and create a custom GPT that's trained on that blueprint to actually interact with and engage directly as a buyer to avatar simulation. And the purpose of this would be to, again, brainstorm and facilitate the ideation process for how you would go about engaging with your target market. Keep in mind that through this process, you might have frameworks or templates and workflows that maybe you have. Here's the top LinkedIn like headlines that I know work really well for me. And here's 10 of my blog posts that I know that do very well for me that I want to have it replicate my voice in. You can take this a lot further than I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to show you a very simple GPT setup. But if you don't know how to set up a GPT in ChatGPT, where you want to start to engage with something like a buyer in an active simulation, not just a static document, this is one way that you could take that approach. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my ChatGPT. Once we're in ChatGPT, this is the thread that we were using for the last demo. You'll want to go up to your settings in the upper right-hand corner, click My GPTs, and select Create Custom GPT. Now, once you start to create a GPT in ChatGPT, And this is one instance. We have another demo for another tool that you can create GPTs in. So again, focus on ChatGPT use case here. You will need a ChatGPT account to be able to access this, as well as if you're sharing this with other members of your team, you will need additional seats in your organization. So just keep that in mind in terms of how often you'll be sharing this within different folks in your organization, or you can make the link available for public use, like our MarketSauce Mentalist is. But when I go about creating a GPT process inside of ChatGPT, while it starts with the configure case in a lot of places, I actually tend to start with the create section. And from here, I'm going to start to tell it what I want to do. So for this case, I'm going to say, I'm looking to create an avatar simulation where I have my blueprint that is uploaded, and I want to create a persona that is based on that blueprint that I can create an interactive conversation with and interact with on a daily basis to test out ideas and use with my other GPTs. So I'm going to give it my initial context of what I want it to do, and then I'm going to attach a file that is the file from the blueprint we created. So once I attach this blueprint here inside of ChatGPT, it's basically going to start asking me some questions with how it wants me to respond. So I'm gonna respond back now saying, for example, it should have a specific personality, tone, or style. I want the personality to be reflective of the target market segment that we've created. So taking into account all of the different psychographic, demographic goals, fears, pains, desires, and that sort of thing. And the expertise should be focused on the context that I provided inside of the document for the side hustle game. So I'm giving it a little bit more context. And now it's going to come back to me and saying, I'm configuring this persona. This persona will embody what it knows, encourage unconventional methods, reflect on balancing. So I'm just going to say side hustle persona one, just to give it a name that I'll know. Sometimes it gives me a name that I'm like I don't even know what aspire means. Like I know what it means, but if I'm looking for a GPT, I like to name them accordingly so it's easy for me to find. It's going to then generate a profile picture, which fine. I don't want to get hung up on this as a profile picture, but if I did want to have a profile picture that I wanted to care about a little bit more, create a profile picture that has the likeness of a Pixar style character, and their name is Avery. So I'm just gonna, it's using Dolly 3, I believe, which is the image generation tool that OpenAI uses. Sure, fine. It looks like an Avery for me. You could spend as much time on here as you want. I'm not going to get held up on it. I'm just going to say, looks good. I do, if I'm making one of these persona GPTs, to give it a face, makes me feel like I'm interacting with something. It's not just a light bulb. But is there any specific way? But be constructive and give insights from their perspective. So I'm saying, okay, that's fine. And what it every time it's updating here in the configure section, it's taking those prompts and it's updating them over there. And more often than not, I'll find that this is a great starting point where then I might go and start to test it out right here. But I'm going to go over to configure side hustle persona, embodying young creative and entrepreneurial insights. And so we can see here, it's giving it this persona, like a personality, basically. And it's added the blueprint right here. And so like with this in mind, all I need to do now is click create. If I want to invite anyone specifically, I can let people out my organization. This is if you want to keep it private. So only people that are inside of your organization can use it, or anyone with the link. I can add it to the GPT store. I don't normally do that. But if I say anyone with the link can chat, I just save it in that same sense. And then usually this opens up in a new thread. And let me see, it's updating. Okay, so I'm going to view the GPT now. Oh, it looks like it didn't create that. Oh, not a big deal. So persona one. So I'm going to say, hi, tell me about you. And now I'm here to bring fresh perspectives. My focus is on sparking conversation. And so what I've noticed when I got this initial feedback, it's taking the perspective that it's helping like me as the young professional, making more of a consideration around that. And so I actually don't like the direction that this is going because it's a little bit off in terms of what I want it to accomplish. I want it to have the personality on the flip side. I'm going to say update your instructions. I will engage with you and want your feedback as a target market I am content for. And so I'm going to give it this instruction to update its configuration. So now, with that context in mind, it's re-updating it to give it a different role and personality and goal. And sometimes this works a little bit more smooth right out the gate. Sometimes it takes a little bit more fine tuning. But again, that's just how, when you're working with AI, some of these things take a few different reps to set up. And then I would also encourage you that if you're doing this on your own, because you can create your own knowledge base within your own custom ChatGPT instance, it's updated it. I could go and grab all of my product information. I could go grab specific details like game instructions and stuff that I have in additional documents, and I could upload all of those files right here. And so that's only going to give it more relevant context that you're going to want to be creating around. But what we see here is a fun-friendly character who embodies the values of a young professional, XYZ. So I'm going to update it. And then, with a very quick demo, this is how you can go about creating one example of a custom GPT instance inside of ChatGPT, in the sense of what we're working to streamline inside of the MarketSauce portal is how you don't necessarily need to go set one of these up by yourself, because is this perfect by any means right out the gate? Not exactly. It requires some more fine tuning, with the purpose of these GPTs being that it's a process that you're going to be going about and creating content from and building out as an asset inside of your business. That's just one GPT creation of many that you could create. And again, that's for a persona, but I've got GPTs around like video production and like for YouTube videos, for example, that I've just given it. These are like how I want to be able to create YouTube videos and descriptions and that sort of thing. And those are really helpful because I think you said this earlier, Tyrese. I'll share this because this is a really helpful tip I think more people need to know about, is when you're in ChatGPT, and if you have a custom GPT like this video production GPT, which I think this is available for you guys to watch. I'll just share this with you. Let me make sure. Here's a not planned bonus, but how you would take this once you open this up in your account. I would say I'm opening up this GPT, for example, the SideHustle persona. I'm going to say reference at video production marketing maestro. And now it's referencing this GPT that I created to create 10 headlines for new YouTube videos that would resonate with you. Where I find this is useful is that if I'm in a new thread and I'm creating content and I'm like, oh, I need to now create a YouTube description for this, or hashtag research or something like that, you could reference a GPT in a case like this, and it'll pull out certain things that GPT is trained on. Now, we have extra training on how to use that GPT someplace, I think maybe on our YouTube channel. Again, this being more of like an intro into setting up some of these GPTs, having a clear process that you want to do on a regular basis, like creating YouTube videos and things of that nature. You can take that process, turn it into a GPT, and then very quickly just reference back to it time and time again whenever you need it. So sometimes it might take me 3 hours to set up one of these GPTs, and that's fine if I know it's going to save me 3 hours every week for the rest of time because I'm doing it. But I see a question about setting up a custom GPT in a way that AI won't train their LLM. If your settings are set to not share with ChatGPT, you should be good to not be training ChatGPT's models on that front. You can also check out customgpt.ai, which will have a demo dropping tomorrow with that tool, which is the tool that we built our Q&A chatbot for the summit on our website. So if you go to the scalewithai.summit.com, and you can check out that is built with customgpt.ai, and that's their whole model is in helping you set up your own custom GPT instances that aren't going and training other LLMs, but they have other features built into their tool where you can feed it YouTube videos as sources, you can feed it other integrations and other information that, again, worth researching both and figuring out which one works best for you, but we'll have a demo as well of how that tool works and how we're setting up our GPTs in that instance, dropping tomorrow. We've got about 5 minutes till Gamma should start hopping on board.